Alright, as I said in the last video, we actually have some more teams that I didn't manage to show you guys that we fixed. Let's get on into it. Hey guys, and welcome back to another Fix My Team episode, where today I am going to be attempting to fix the teams that you guys sent in. If you guys haven't watched the very first episode of this, definitely go check it out. It's on, I'll have a link somewhere in the video as a card, so hopefully you guys will be able to go in and go check that out, see what it's like. And hopefully you enjoy it. If you haven't seen this already, it's basically where you guys will send in your teams via YouTube, comment, Discord, Twitter, and I will attempt to fix them. Now, we did have a few teams that I did fix, but I didn't manage to show you guys in our first episode because I wanted to keep the episodes really short and snappy. So without further ado, guys, let's see what other teams we have lined up that need to be fixed. Alright, you guys, Team 2 was provided by a Discord user named Fennel. I will hopefully have his link to his Draft League website profile in the description down below if it does exist. But he currently has signed up for the next season of FIFA in the new division that's being created over there. If you haven't seen FIFA yet, that's a league on my channel that I play in. So he's just have to sign up there, which is great. So that's what. So he is sent us a team for us to take a look at. And what's very interesting about this team is that this is the team he hasn't drafted yet. This is the team he's hoping to draft. So this is basically a draft plan that he wants us to critique, which is very, very interesting. So hopefully we can take a look at and see what he's planning with. He's currently drafting right now. He's gone through one round, if I remember correctly at the time of this recording. He has picked up Zygarde at the moment, and he's currently looking at picking up, and you'll see on the screen, Tapu Bulu, Vaporeon, Cobalion, Drapion, Scyther, Mega Aerodactyl, Heatran, Alolan Raichu, Beware, and Frostlass. Now, he's got a couple of restrictions to his draft. It is a Nat Dex draft. On Showdown, he has to draft 1 tier 1, 1 tier 2, 1 tier 4, 1 tier 5, 2 tier 3s, and a mega, and all has to be spread across a 1,000 point budget. So it's a kind of a hybrid between the point system and the tier based system you see for draft. I know sometimes that can get a little bit confusing. You just gotta kind of read the rules a little bit and see what's going on. But that's what he's kind of rocking out with. He's pretty much got all the speed tiers covered with this draft. He's got his elite speed. He's got a plethora of Pokemon in around the 100 to 90 to 95 range. He's got Pokemon that's able to in around the 80 range with Heatran and Bulu. And then he's got Pokemon in the 60s. So he's got his speed tiers kind of covered. He's got a nice little bit of initiative, like with some switch initiative with Raichu and Scyther being able to turn about, and Vaporeon being able to baton pass. He's got some nice access to hazards with Frostlass, Drapion, Heatran as well. So he's got a couple of things to definitely like here. Now, first of all, I'm going to start breaking down a little bit now. First of all, I do not like doing draft plans like this. I do not like coming up with your 11 Pokemon that you want to draft, or how many Pokemon you want to draft. I do not like coming up with your 11 Pokemon at the very start of the draft. I don't like it. I've never liked it. I'm not a fan of it. I'm always a big belief that if you set up 11 Pokemon to draft, you are going to be sniped. And you're going to be sniped hard, and you're going to be incredibly unfortunate throughout the whole thing, because you're going to have a plan and it's just going to be ruined every single time. I'm always a big fan of you take what you want at the very, very start of the draft in your first like 4 or 5 picks, especially your first 2, and you kind of pick what you kind of go with what's available that suits your play style and suits what you're looking to do. So I already know that Fennel wants to use Zygarde 50%. Zygarde can do a plethora of different things. It's like it can be D-Dan setup, you run Choice Band, you can run the Coil set. What Zygarde kind of fails to do though is it fails to do anything outstanding in my opinion. Like it's a real nuisance, and especially with no hidden power ice, like you could definitely find a lot more space to set up. But it's, for me, as a first overall pick, not overly confident and comfortable with that. That's going to be my very first pick. I wouldn't be saying Zygarde 50% is like a number 1 overall pick. I would have. There's a whole bunch of other Pokemon I would have said, and I'm not a big fan of that. So I would have definitely not gone for it. Looking elsewhere, I probably would have looked again at another the Mega Aerodactyl. I could see why he's gone for it, because Zygarde is able to break through those steel types very, very nicely, and then that opens up the door a little bit to Mega Aerodactyl, because that pairs very nicely to deal with the grass and the bug types that Zygarde doesn't. I think that's very, very nice. I can see why he went for it. But for me, when it loops back around to your pick, I'd be more so looking at what other tier 1s can I grab, or tier 1 megas that I can grab that can really complement Zygarde here. Like, Victini's knocking around. Like, Victini with the V-Crate, like, whoa, talk about dealing with that nonsense for a minute. And then you can draft another mega to complement that, which is pretty slick. Looking at that as well, like, I think you could probably do it a little bit of like maybe another Pokemon that can do a little bit more work setup wise. That's like your mid tier range. Like, kind of look at this team, and I think if you're able to deal with Zygarde and Aerodactyl, and most teams will be able to deal with both of those, you will be able to kind of deal with this team's offense. Very much so. You will be able to deal with Fenel's offense on this team a lot of the time, and you're not going to be overly worried about trying to check it. Like, you're going to have like nuances that you got to deal with it on this team, but for me, I think for most draft league teams, they're going to probably look at this and like, look at this, and if I could just shut down Zygarde and Aerodactyl, and most teams can, with either having a bulky grass or bulky bug type, and then having something else to be able to do with Mega Aerodactyl, you're kind of already pretty much there when it comes to dealing with this team. So I think you've got to add another layer of offense here somewhere to be able to kind of like propose a different offensive question to your opponents in prep, because all you need is like a physical defensive wall for Aerodactyl or Zygarde, or maybe even two, and then after that point it's like it gets very easy. I'm not a big fan of Heatran here. I think I'm not a big fan of Heatran full stop in draft. I think Heatran in draft gets slotted into a one set syndrome where it just becomes a more defensive wall and it doesn't provide the offensive capabilities. You know, at the odd time you would see someone who's very creative use Heatran incredibly well, because it does pack a massive punch, but I just don't think it might sit well here. See why you paired it with Bulu, because Bulu and Heatran is a very nice combo that we've seen since the last gen. But again, I also don't think Bulu is a great pick here. I've used Bulu in draft myself. I like Bulu as an offensive breaker for me is not particularly great, particularly when like we haven't even started the draft yet, and when you come back around to it, there could be something absolutely obscene knock around, like a Mega Medicham. Like you just don't know. I wouldn't be going for Bulu right off the bat here. I'd be thinking, you know what, we could definitely do something a little bit different and kind of get a little bit more offensive pressure in that way. The last thing I want to kind of talk about this plan, I don't want to go too much into it because like the draft is still ongoing, but the one thing I would change is maybe some removal. If you look at this team, a layer of rocks or a layer of spikes can really hinder this. Like Frostas will get hurt, Alolan will get hurt, Cobalion, Zygarde, Heatran, like they'll all get chipped. So I would definitely be of the opinion if you could probably change one thing, I would change maybe the removal just a touch. And I do like some of these picks here. I like the idea of picking up Vaporeon, because Vaporeon is going to be able to sponge those ice type attacks for Zygarde and a couple of other things. I would definitely want something that's able to take Bulk Beam a little bit better. Like that Bulk Beam combination, like Aerodactyl can't deal with it, neither can Vaporeon. Cobalion could probably do it most of the time, so maybe I'm being a bit too much over the top there, but I feel like that could be a big issue. If I was to prep against this team, I'd be thinking, you know what, Bulk Beam is very, very nice. Heatran is there, to be fair, to deal with that, but that's the reason why I'm saying Heatran might fall into that one slot syndrome case, because it's the primary Bulk Beam answer, but it might have to come as the Bulk Beam answer most weeks, if you kind of catch my drift. I think that's kind of the way I think about this team. You know, I'm not too sure. You know, I just think it needs to pose another offensive problem for teams, because it's not bulky enough to be worried about this team defensively, and it's not offensive enough for teams to be very scared about this in prep. So I think that's my take on it. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel. But yeah, thank you so much, Fennel, for the submission. And look, hopefully you draft everything that you wanted, because you know, coming with a full plan like this, I just think I can't cope. Alright guys, so our next team that we're going to be critiquing or reviewing is from DrSlaking. A link to his YouTube channel is in the description down below. He's currently in the ICP, which is a Galar-based Wi-Fi draft league. He's currently uploading. You guys know he uploads to YouTube. Go check him out. Great guy. Even though he's English, we can't hold. You know, everyone's got a flaw. But yeah, his team consists of Necrozma, Hydreigon, Gengar, Mamoswine, Rotom-Wash, Heracross, Moltres, Whimsicott, and Hippotatus. He was allowed to draft between 9 to 11 Pokemon. He was given a draft budget, and that's what he went with. And he drafted Hydreigon first. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat. Like, that's just a horrible first pick. Like, I just don't draft Hydreigon. Like, what? I just do not understand why you would draft Hydreigon first pick. It's just not in my brain. I just look at it, I'm like, why? This is like, I already went over this in a previous video. Hydreigon, for whatever reason in this gen, especially in Wi-Fi, does not hit hard enough, despite the fact that it's set up in both physical and special. It just does not hit hard enough. It relies too much on items, and therefore it has to be run some kind of bulky set, and it's just not a staple on any team. You could draft that first or second overall. It's just not a real staple. It's not something you're going to rely on week in, week out. For me, I don't think. It's just not able to do enough work. I think drafting that early is a huge mistake. It's a bit of a drawback on the team, so I'm not a big fan of that. Love Necrozma, love Heracross. I think those two are really good. Mamoswine breaks through everything. Moltres as a pivot is fantastic. You got a really good Voltorb curve with Overwatch and Moltres with the Whimsicott. I just think Hydreigon there and no Steel type, and you sell for 9 months. I would just drop Hydreigon and look at something else. What's even worse here for DrSlaking is not that he just drafted Hydreigon first overall. Just to come back to that point. He drafted Hydreigon before, while Rillaboom and Victini was still on the board. So, I can't forgive this. Victini was on the board until the 3rd round. Victini should not be allowed to stay on the board that long. Rillaboom was just right behind you too. I do not understand why you just don't draft Rillaboom there. Because it's just far better than Hydreigon. And Victini's sitting around there too. This Hydreigon pick is a disaster. It's just, no, I can't comment how bad it is. It's just shocking. So I would definitely, I would drop Hydreigon as a starter and see if we can improve something. So Hydreigon is worth 16 points. You can definitely look at something completely different here and pick up some real scary power. We have some speed tiers that could probably be looked at improving. We have nothing at elite speed and we have nothing around the 60 range. So we could definitely look at improving some speed tiers. We can, to be fair, you lose Hydreigon, you're losing that 100 speed tier as well. So you can definitely look at dropping Hydreigon and just filling out this team just a touch more. Because I like everything else on this team. I think everything else on this team is really good. Whim is good, Gengar is good, Moltres, Rotom-Wash, Heracross is an insane wall breaker, Mamoswine hits like a truck, the Necrozma is able to do everything. The Hippopotamus, Fiddlemon, but it could do 1 or 2 things. So this can work. It can work. Looking at this team though, I think we gotta look at what can exploit Heracross, right? So primarily we're looking at bringing somebody in that can really take advantage of Heracross's wall breaking ability for steel types, normal types, grass types, but effectively anything. There's so few Pokemon that are able to deal with Flame Up Heracross. So anyone that can really take advantage of that, Gengar is a really good Pokemon that can take some advantage of that. Anyone that's able to take advantage of that would be very, very slick here. What could be an option here, right, if Hydreigon is definitely not working out, is that because we're not working on a Steel Fairy Dragon Core here, essentially, it's not what we got. You could look at dropping the Hydreigon if we're needing a little bit more power and picking up Inteleon. So you would get Inteleon for 11 points. So you get an additional 5 points there. Inteleon base 120 speed. It's going to be an offensive type that is really going to like Heracross coming in and breaking up those bulky grass types. And then you can run your Snipe Shot with the Inteleon and then really break through and cause absolute havoc on opposing teams. So I think that could be something that could help exploit the Heracross a little bit. And then your fire types, Inteleon will have no problem coming in and dealing with. So I think that could be an option. And then you have 5 points where you can either upgrade the Hippopotamus or pick up something different. And with those 5 extra points, you could pick up a plethora of different Pokemon. You could pick up a Scyther to maybe fill up that 105, that 105 base speed tier that you have to drop in with Hydreigon. You could pick up something like Licky, or not Licky, sorry, Lickitung, because that's available. Lickitung only being 3 points, and it also gives you a Dragapult answer before you even have to deal with that team. So that could be quite helpful for your squad. And you could also use it to maybe upgrade Hippopotamus as well. If you're worried about dark types, even you could probably come over here. You could pick up say a Spiritomb or a Sableye if you wanted a bit more of a defensive answer. It does open up that speed tier though. You would probably have to swap out Hippopotamus to fill up that speed tier if you were really concerned about that 100 speed tier. But you do have options to be able to fill out that dark type too. Or you could do a couple of more swap rounds. I wouldn't suggest dropping Whimsicott because I do like it, but if you wanted to, you could probably pick up something a little more bulkier. But I do think like if the Hydreigon isn't working, you gotta maybe swap it out. And I would definitely take a look at Inteleon, because Inteleon looks to me is the best bet available that's able to pair with the Heracross very, very nicely. It's just unfortunate a lot of the offensive stuff that is available, and that is the case with these Gyaradex drafts. A lot of the offensive stuff that is available, just, you know, they're not quite there. Like, it's hard to pick them up because a lot of them are taken. They get taken very, very quickly. Now, one offensive switch that you could make, and it's bold, and I was suggesting this on a previous team, so I didn't really want to suggest it again because it makes it look like I'm favoritism here. But one offensive switch you could make if you're really not feeling Hydreigon is you pick up Volcarona. You pick up Volcarona for the 16 points, and then you maybe take a look at switching up Moltres, because you have dual fire types, and the rocks and the water weakness isn't quite going to be there. So you could switch out Volcarona and drop the Moltres and pick up something that's able to come in and be that kind of that Fizdef pivot, and it's able to remove rocks. But the role that Moltres does, it's very hard to fill that out with one Pokemon. You might have to pick up 2 Pokemon that's able to do that. So if you're really lacking a bit of firepower, for me, your best bet is to go out to Volcarona. Now, I do think Heracross and Volcarona can kind of roughly do the same job, like when it comes to wall breaking, but Volcarona gives you that sweeping potential with the Quiver Dance. So that could be something to definitely take a look at if you were looking for a bit more offensive impact from your round 1 pick. I would drop the Hydreigon, bring the Volcarona, and make 1 or 2 extra switches, primarily around Moltres, to make sure that Volcarona can fit nicely on your team. But yeah, that's the third team. Thank you so much, DrSlaking, for the submission. And that's it for today's episode, you guys. If you enjoyed it, please click the like button down below for me. If you haven't clicked the subscribe button, please do so. And click that bell icon down below as well. It lets you guys know when I have a video coming out. And if you haven't followed me on Twitter, or Twitch, I should say, make sure you head over and follow me over on Twitch as well. Link to that is in the description down below. But yeah, on that note, I'm going to get on about here. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.